Advanced Passion, the show where I ask a guest to evangelize me about something they are passionate about. It could be a book, a movie, food, a place, a person, a cause, pretty much anything at all. Don't forget, if you want to stay in touch with all of these conversations and make sure you don't miss anything that we're putting out, like and subscribe. In particular, subscribe. You don't have to like, but you do have to subscribe. And if you want to leave a comment as well, leave a little message for us, or even a question or something, you can do that down below on this YouTube video if that's where you're watching it. If you listen to the podcast, I don't know what you're going to do. Maybe shout loudly and maybe we'll hear you. Today, I'm joined by a man who looks right now a little bit perplexed at what's about to happen. Hey, Lindz, man, how are you? Lindz West.
I'm good, man. How are you, bro? You all right?
I'm doing all right. Yeah. I feel
also
like
joined by my nice friend Humphrey, who's been sat here. He's gonna sit with me for a minute because he's good to hug.
That's cute, man. It's good to have a friend. It's good to have a friend. Yeah, and after all, you're like the least social person I know as well. So it's good.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I need someone. He's been my lockdown buddy, my lockdown companion. When you can't hug, you're not being able to hug and stuff. People
are seeing a whole new side of you right now. I mean, if you listen to this on the podcast, you don't know what's going on. You might think there's actually someone called Humphrey in the room. It's not. It's a teddy bear, but that's nice. So, Lindz, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you get up to, what do you do?
Cool, man. Yeah, my name's Lindz West. I front a band called LZ7. If anyone's listening in the States, it's LZ7. We call it LZ7 because it's our language. Just saying. No, I'm playing. So LZ7, it means Landing Zone 7. And obviously my name is Lindz. So when we first started it, the L and the Z were for an individual and the 7 was for the number of completion in the Bible. So it meant an individual's created perfect. We went on tour to New Zealand, and this military guy came up to me, like an American guy, at the end of the show. And he said, "Hey, bro, do you know what LZ7 means?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Landing Zone 7. And I was like, "What's that?" I said, "I see across New Zealand, across like any like South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, you'll see LZ5. And I'm like, what's an LZ7? He said, well, Landing Zone 7 and LZ5, Landing Zone 5 is when you land in your own country. So if you've got a chopper coming over with a load of troops, they land in the UK, that's a Landing Zone 5. A Landing Zone 7 is when you go into opposition territory and you steal the land back." He said, so LZ7 actually means you're stealing land back. And he said, so you shared a testimony a minute ago about a young person handing in their self-harm blades or their suicide notes. He said, you're stealing them back. That's what your band may need. And I was like, yes, it does. That's exactly what it means. Man. That's exactly what it's about. And this was only about like 4 years ago. Now we've been going about 12 years. So I was like, yo, that's it. That's our mantra is we're stealing an enemy territory back. And we use music. So music is a platform to create the biggest, widest, hugest, largest platform we can to reach young people. That could be in high school tours with a bunch of year 8s on a Monday morning, right the way through to a national stadium in Papua New Guinea with 100,000 people in and preaching the gospel, anywhere in between, national tour, mainstream tours with big artists. And we put a lot of marketing and budget into things like Spotify and YouTube to end up on everybody's device, because what are people using at the moment for all their things? It's this. So what's the best thing to get music through is to earphones and listening and having people responding through that. So we do a lot of music, we do a lot of discipleship resources, we do a lot of high school tours and mainstream tours. And we've just completed a brand new sort of spiritual formation course called Illuminate Plus. Illuminate is our schools tour. Matthew 5:13, you're the light of the world. That's essentially it. And we've partnered with the country's largest nightclub network to put these gigs on in nightclubs. So we do 5 schools in 5 days, one band, another band does another set of 5, and book these nightclubs and essentially plant church in them. So get the local churches to down tools and plant church on a Sunday. But then all of the discipleship is done through this. So all the music or the fronting of it is done through your phone or done through Spotify and YouTube. And then all of the discipleship is on here as well. And you can calculate where people are. You can geographically locate them. You can geolocate all of your discipleship stuff that happens in the schools or in Starbucks. And we train the local churches on how to do it and where to take it, and then put on these Illuminate tours. So that's the school side of it. And then the music side of it is we went on tour with an artist called Jason Derulo, like just before lockdown, and realized there was 450,000 people that wouldn't step into a church, and what a place to tell them about Jesus. And we were given a mic and they said, it's your mic, you share what you need to share and get up on stage and do it. So yeah, I'm mad passionate about that stuff, you know, connecting those dots between music and taking the life-changing message of Jesus to young people through it. And we just see some amazing results, amazing testimonies, and feel like God's really got us on this journey to impact the mainstream and tell people about hope. And hope has a name. His name's Jesus. That was a bit of a jargon, that, wasn't it? Flip.
No, man, it's beautiful. And we'll circle back around to some of the points you made. We'll talk a little bit about the Derulo tour later on, I'm sure. Yeah. But man, how relieved were you when he said, do you know what LZ7 means? And then it's like something that perfectly matches up with what you do, rather than LZ7 is like the scrapyard for where planes go when they're finished.
I was like, what's he going to say? And am I going to have to walk away and just like redefine everything that we do and rebrand it? And I'm so glad.
That's awesome. I love it. So you're going to evangelize me. You're used to preaching the gospel to so many different environments. You're probably one of the few evangelists I know who preaches the gospel in a crazy wide array of different settings. Like a lot of evangelists that I know, they kind of maybe have like a particular speciality of how they might go about doing it and what platforms they have. You're obviously pushing into high schools and the music industry and stuff in a big way, but actually you have so many different opportunities, and you use those opportunities really, really well to be clear with the gospel. And I'm excited to chat a bit about that as we go. But I'm also excited for you to just evangelize me right now about something you're passionate about. So what's it going to be? What am I getting evangelized about?
Okay, so I love going to concerts. I love soaking up the atmosphere. I think music has got that way to bring that Friday feeling, you know, when you've got to lie in on the weekend and, you know, that kind of buzz. And I think that as soon as a song comes on, it can change the atmosphere in the room and change the atmosphere in your heart on the inside as well. So I'm going to talk to you today about a concert that I went to. I've been to Glastonbury, and that was incredible. That was an amazing moment. I saw Stormzy and I saw Dizzy Rascal. These are two big UK rappers, and that was incredible. But I think one of the biggest turning points for me, Ben, was going to see Coldplay and Jay-Z at Old Trafford. And I just bought the Numb Encore album, which was Linkin Park and Jay-Z, and how kind of like they'd put these two worlds together, this rock world and this rap world, and they'd come together, and it just made this amazing album that I used to listen to in the gym. And then I got tickets for this Coldplay thing, and it just blew my socks off. Like I walked in, and if you've been to Old Trafford cricket grounds, it's just flat. Like cricket grounds are just flat. There's no kind of seat. Well, there is seating, but it's minimal. There's no like tier, or there's no kind of natural bowl. It's just flat. And I just thought, I need to get to the front. I've got to get to the front of this thing. So me and my boy Lewis from LZ7 and another mate called Fiddler, we literally pushed, snuck, ducked, dived, crawled through people's legs all the way to like the 5th or 6th row. And when you get to there, like everything is packed. Like I can't, after this mad Corona moment, I can't imagine there being a moment where this is going to happen again. But it's one of those moments where the crowd moves and you can do nothing. And I'm quite a big guy. I could do nothing but go with everybody, and I'm just doing this and rocking about, and I could just about get my hands above my head. And Coldplay, Jay-Z came out, and I could see Beyonce over on the right-hand side, and she was like watching from I could see her because we were that close to the stage. Yeah. And she was, I mean, she's obviously a beautiful lady, but she was just singing her heart out for Jay-Z's stuff, and she was supporting him, and she was there in the moment. And then Lewis turned and he said, I'm gonna go get some drinks. So he nicks off to go and get some drinks. And then he comes back, and it's one of Jay-Z's opening songs. And it's called 99 Problems. And it's a bit rude, but I do like the song. I like the and all the other stuff, the riffs that come out and all that kind of business, right? So literally music. Yeah. So I'm stood there and I'm watching, and as he comes out, I just went, yeah, like stuck my hands up in the air. And as I stuck my hands up, from one side of the stage, from where I was, I could see this spinning, what looked like a bottle full of, it looked like Red Bull. And I was like, oh, yeah, that. And I as I had my hands up, it just went poof, straight onto my face. Mate. And all this liquid that I thought was Red Bull, and I realised was like slightly warm and ever so slightly salty. And I was like, but I couldn't wipe my face because I had my hands in the air and I had no space to do it. And I turned and I was like, oh my gosh, I've just been hit in the face by a pint of someone else's wee. Oh my
mate.
goodness. And Ben,
Oh,
I
mate.
could do nothing about it. I couldn't move. I couldn't wipe my face. I just had to let it dry. And it was in my hair. It was pouring down my skin. It was pouring down my nose. And it was just one of those like mega unexpected moments. But did it change the outcome of the gig? Did it like put me off the gig? Did I have any worse a time? No, I probably had a better time because I was absolutely loving it. And you know, Chris Martin got up and he started to share some of his stuff behind some of the songs. And there's something very, very spiritual about that guy that he's kind of tapped into. Obviously, he's grown up as a Christian in a Christian household, at least. There's some real kind of spiritual moments in his set. And you find yourself, like I found myself literally worshiping at a moment that where everyone else has got their hands up and they're singing the song. And I'm actually going like with Fix You, Lights Will Guide You Home. Something like Your Bones, and I will try to fix you. And I'm like, that's just Jesus singing over a crowd. Do you know what I mean? Like lights, like everything about Jesus is light. Everything about, and I'm kind of making a connection in my head, in my spiritual, I guess my soul, to what they're singing. And it was just this moment where I was just like, this music has this ability to connect people here, man. This is just like one big worship sesh. And it was just a real moving moment. So it was something that gripped me, and it was something that I went, actually, I'm now going to choose to mold these worlds as well in a way that reaches 11 to 18-year-olds. And it was a real defining moment for me. And it was something that when I go to gigs now, I always think back to, oh, there was that point. And I know for you, Ben, you probably got a moment where you went, whoa, what was that? It was transcendent of everything that you've realized before, and that something clicks in your heart and you suddenly go, right, that's me. And it was the thing that kind of signed me up to what I'm doing now. So I think there's defining moments in people's lives, and that was probably one of my most defining moments and what I'm most passionate about. And it's repeated. So 2018, I was at Glastonbury and I saw Dizzy Rascal and Stormzy, and forget the lyrics and what they're saying, I had another one of those moments. I was just looking around and I was going, holy smokes, everybody's in. And I was in the mosh pit. And I got up on my mate's shoulders and I said, stick me up. It was Scouse's, Andy Hancock's shoulders. I said, stick me up. I want to get up. So I got up and I sat there and I just went, oh my gosh, Lord Jesus, this is insane.
Right.
And it just this feeling hit me. And I was like, people can worship this, football and sing the songs and sing them. And I'm there just up on top of people's shoulders, absolutely buzzing my tiny eyes off, watching what was going on and seeing people just worshiping. And I was like, we've got to be able to do this. We've got to be able to grab people like this. We've got to be able to get them in a place where they're just the Holy Spirit smashes through and impacts lives. And that to me was one thing that I'm super passionate about, and it gripped me, Ben, if I'm honest.
There's something crazily powerful about the shared experience. And I think like when it comes to a big concert like you've just been describing there, there's obviously so many factors at play. You've got the music, and music can be very emotive and moving. Even if we don't like or know the music, it can have a moving. But when it's someone that we respect and admire, someone we've wanted to hear for a long time, hearing those songs we're familiar with from the radio or from Spotify, suddenly coming to us live from the person that made it, that's like a really exciting experience. And then the fact that you're surrounded by so many other people, even if it was just strangers, it would be like a buzz, because hey, here's a crazy thought. We were created for fellowship with God, but also fellowship with each other. When we get with so many other people, it's like we inherently know that there's something right about this, that we're together. So like togetherness feels right somehow. When you then throw in that you might be with people that you really care about. I remember one of the nights that I had that massively impacted me was at Glastonbury as well, around about, I think it was about 2009 or something like that. And Blur, who were one of my favorite bands when I was a teenager, I never got to see them play. They broke up before I got the chance to go see them. And then all these years later, 10 years later or whatever it was, they reformed to do just like a one-off thing at Glastonbury and a few other places. And man, I'm stood there in the middle of the field. And it's a powerful, special place, Worthy Farm, Glastonbury, with like 100,000 people. Stood next to my cousin, who is like my big brother, really. Neither of us had brothers growing up. We were like each other's brothers. Don't get to see each other that often, so that was special. These songs that I never thought I'd hear get played live, being played. Like the lead singer, Damon Albarn, he's crying because he didn't think he was going to have this. Everyone's singing, everyone's unified, everyone's happy, everyone's joyful. And it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get that this thing of like togetherness is such a powerful thing. I guess there's a good side and a downside to it though, right? The good side is, wow, what an environment to draw people into, to help people see that you're not alone. and the root of your not aloneness can be found in God first and foremost.
Yeah.
But I guess there's also a little danger as well that it becomes so much about the experience that maybe people are getting more caught up in the emotion of the moment than the reality of connecting with God. So how do you navigate the good side, but also how you're aware of some of the potential dangers?
Yeah, totally. I think we live in a society where people are buzzing after experiences, and experiences are incredible, but experiences they fade, and what we actually fill that void with is which should be what I think as a Christian is it should be relationship. And experience fades, but relationship builds, and relationship builds with God. Relationship builds with family, builds with friends. But that relationship, like you were saying, that kind of like, oh, what is it? What is that thing? That togetherness, that euphoria is. I'm not saying it's like a daily thing for me that I get this euphoric feeling that I'm with God, but what it is a built relationship that's now almost replaced that, or is running as equally alongside that in my heart. Obviously, I'd still buzz for the experience of being in a Blur concert. I'd probably cry like you did, or if I got the opportunity to go to another concert, I'd still buzz for that experience. But now as I've grown up and I've matured a little bit, I say a little bit, it's relationship that not replaced it, but just fulfillment that comes through community, fulfillment that comes through walking with God, fulfillment in the morning, just going, actually, do you know what? I've got something to smile about, wake up, I've got purpose. Even if I didn't have a job, even if I didn't have anything, I've got purpose because God designed me to be here in the first place. And I feel that is the missing chink in the chain that everyone goes, what am I missing in my life? Like, I've got everything. It's because you're missing relationship. You could have all the money in the world, the biggest yachts, the best looking girls, or all the best of the best of the best. But if you don't have relationship community, you've got nothing. And I feel like that is a missing part of sometimes what we actually share with people, because I can be guilty of an LZ7 show, getting everybody into that moment of euphoria and saying yes to Jesus. And, in the past have gone right now on to the next town, and we've not nurtured their relationships into community. Yeah. So that's why we've developed all these discipleship resources to help that angle scale of response to relationship. It's the 2 R's. And it's building that relationship, that angle scale across, LZ, go onto the discipleship resource, go and meet someone, go meet a youth worker, go meet your friends. Your friends turn up together. You now in relationship with Jesus in this course. That to me is probably the most important bit of what we do now. The most important part. That's what we've really been focusing on it for the last year, because I realized that actually that missing chink in the chain is relationship. And that, I feel like that knock-on effect will have such a knock-on effect to 21, 22-year-olds that are now coming through who, we've been in school 10 years ago in Manchester, and I've got kids coming up to me in bars and saying, restaurants, and saying, yo, you're that guy from LZ, Flip, you taught me last Friday, I sat outside in the Northern Quarter and someone came up and said, you're the guy from LZ7, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. And he said, you came in my school 10 years ago. And I was like, oh man. And I thought he was going to go, oh man, you got old. You guys are rubbish. And he goes, you changed my life. You absolutely changed my life, mate. He said, I was bullied at school. I never got involved in anything. And you started this group at a thing in Oldham. And I got into a new friendship group. I got into relationships with new people, and it saved my life. And I'm like, I'm sat there just like, I was not expecting that. But it's all about leading him into a relationship. And I feel like that's so important.
Mate, that's bang on. And like, you couldn't have put it better when you said that it's not like the experience is a gateway, and the experience can be like really amazing and profound, but if it doesn't lead to long-term fulfillment, then what actually is it? And that's of course why in life we're constantly chasing the next great experience, because experiences do come to an end. So we have one, and then we want to get the next one and the next one. And I remember when I first started out DJing in the nightclub scene, and was wanting to just be as effective a witness as I could be in that kind of slightly strange nighttime culture. And you would just see people coming in on a Friday, Saturday night, and they were coming in with one thing in mind: escape from reality. Like, life is hard, life is difficult, life's a challenge. I've got a 9 to 5, or I've got uni deadlines, or I haven't got a job at the moment. I'm just bumming around at home all the time trying to figure out what to do. But on Friday night, I can go, my friends, let my hair down, escape from reality, and have a great experience. And my heart.
You said let your hair down.
Yeah, well, yeah, that I let mine down too much, mate. And you need to watch yourself.
I'm on my way.
Be careful,
I'm
mate.
on my way.
It's like this feeling of I want to get some temporary fulfillment because I'm not really getting it anywhere else. And my take on it was always like, I don't want to just give you a great experience through a DJ concert. I want to try and give you something. And if it's a great experience in the moment, cool, but something that will lead to true fulfillment. And that can only be found in Jesus. I love the fact that you as an evangelist and you as an evangelistic ministry are taking discipleship seriously. Because that's, oh, who's calling? Who was it? Come on, name and shame.
Oh, someone just called. Why is this even on? It can only happen to me. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, mate, it's like, this is the beautiful thing about modern technology and like podcasts and stuff. Like back in the day, like a phone going off on a radio show would be like so embarrassing and awkward. And now we're all listening to podcasts where phones are going off and emails are pinging in. And yeah, exactly. I'm glad, like, it's good to know that even though you're not taking this podcast seriously, you take discipleship seriously. Like that's what I'm getting at.
You're such a dork. Oh, I love that 90s disc. Dork. Why can't we bring back 90s disc?
Bring it back. You just did.
Yeah.
I think going back to Coldplay, like bringing it back to Chris Martin, I've seen Coldplay as well. And when I saw Coldplay, he made like a few pretty sizable mistakes in what he was doing. He started one song completely in the wrong key, got a minute into it, realized they had to stop and start all over again, you know. And I love the fact that he didn't try and cover it up, you know. He just got to a point where it was like, oh, hang on, this isn't working. This isn't right. I'm not going to try and fake it out, style it out somehow. I'm just going to go, you know what, everybody, I've messed this up completely. Band, stop, we're going to start again and we're going to do it again. And I feel like that honesty and that vulnerability is actually quite a good like model of actually what we should all be doing in all walks of life. We're not going to get it right all the time. We're not going to feel perfectly about everything all the time. How are we able to be vulnerable and honest and actually say, you know what, I don't really understand this, or you know what, I'm struggling with this, or I messed up here, or I've got a few questions for God here. And I think actually being honest as a church, being honest as evangelists, being honest as we share Jesus. I think one of the biggest, most damaging things to evangelism is clearly inauthenticity. People sniff it a mile off. And when we're trying to give perfect answers to questions that don't have perfect answers, it doesn't ring true. It's not that there aren't good and decent answers and answers that point us in the right direction of God himself, but they're not necessarily an answer with a perfectly tied bow on top. And so I just, for you as like an evangelist and encouraging anyone who's listening or watching who's trying to think about how to help their friends, like what would your take be on just helping people, just being honest in your witness and being honest in your evangelism?
Yeah, totally. So that word, authenticity, is what just hits me like a ton of bricks. People do smell a rat; they see it, especially young people. Like if you're not authentically what you're supposed to be, you know, what you're doing is or who you are is who you are. They sniff it and realize and probably run a mile. I think this whole coming back to this relationship, this community. You know, when you're talking about being honest with people and you're talking about like having honest conversations where you're free to express and share emotions, share stuff like that. You know, that conversation I had with that DJ Adam, my DJ mate beforehand, is being in that place and being vulnerable. And it just takes once. It just takes you opening up once, and then you realise how actually, oh no, I can do this. And as blokes, we're really bad at not doing it. We're really bad at bottlenecking it, and saying, no, I've got it. Put a brave face on. I've got it. I even wrote a song called Brave Face because that's what I used to do with all this stuff that we went through with the family making stuff. And you just put a brave face on, and you put it on, and then everything's covered. To the rest of the world, you look great, but on the inside, you're crushed and you're dying. And I think once you open up and you have that one conversation with that person, it then becomes easier to have the conversation again. It then becomes easier to have the conversation and surrounding yourself with people. So, I mean, I know this is about advanced, but our advanced group that we're in, that you and I are in, is a really honest, open place where you can ask questions and you can be vulnerable with lads, and there's no judgment, there's no issues, there's no comeback, there's just good advice and a listening ear. And I feel like when you've got to that point where you can't cope with it anymore and you need to talk to someone, it's surrounding yourself with those key people and just saying, look, two mates, would you meet up for coffee this week? I just really want to share something. I want to talk about something. And that could be about your evangelism. That could be about your personal life. That could be about, but once that's shared, this bottleneck opens, that cork moves ever so slightly, and a bit of gas, a bit of air comes out, and a bit more pressure comes off, because you've shared it with someone. And then the next thing is that guy drops you a text and says, how you dealing with that? You right? And that opens it up again. Oh yeah, I'm good. I've been praying for it. Oh, thanks, man. And you feel the pressure just lift, and it takes one conversation. And I feel like we can be really bad at it because we think, no, we've got it sorted. And the rest of the world don't need to know that I'm vulnerable. My kids don't need to know that I'm vulnerable. My wife needs to see me as the strength. I'm the breadwinner. Like, I'm the man. I'm the guy that does this. And actually having those vulnerable conversations allows them to be a part of the journey with you and shoulder some of it with you as well. You know, shouldering some of those problems with you, back to back, shoulder to shoulder. And I feel like that to me that's been a real learning curve as well. And being able to trust people and to open up, but also, you know, even with my wife and my kids, and having them come with us on the journey and understanding it. So perfect example is our little boy, Jack, talking him through so he understands the whole scenario of miscarriage, where babies come from, into adoption. So he journeyed all of Willow's adoption with us. But now he's in a position. That took a massive weight off me, because Jack's there as a little, well, how old was he at the time? 7-year-old boy, saying, "Oh, Daddy, this is amazing. Is this what you did to me? Did you bring the presents here for me?" Now, normal blokes, honestly, just wouldn't talk about it. And I'm sat there driving to pick up Willow, having to explain it to a 7-year-old, but he's shouldering the thing with me. And now he comes to it and he goes, "Oh, I'll explain that to her. Oh, I'd love to take Willow through a life book. I'd love to talk to her about her parents. I'd love to." And it was just a small example of how things that we go, no, we don't talk about that stuff. We don't talk about sex. We don't talk about baby making. We don't talk about family making. This is a personal thing to us. It became an open conversation. And you come into our house and it's like, it's an open thing that's just not an issue anymore. I've seen so many blokes, particularly in this, like in the fertility walk, thinking, "I'm not a man, I'm half a man. I can't, because we can't have children. I'm half a bloke." And you can see it in their faces. They're like, you can see the pressure and the weight in their eyes. And I almost want to go up to them and just go, "Please tell me, or talk to someone, talk to your social worker, talk to people about this. Share this problem, because they're going to shoulder it with you. And you don't have to, it's the same old thing. You don't have to go through this alone. You don't have to give up on it because you think it's only you going through it. There are other people that have had these experiences and share it with you." And I feel like that's a really important message for blokes, especially when suicide is one of the biggest killers. It's the biggest killer of under 40s. It's the biggest killer of under 50s men in the UK, and it's the biggest killer of under 25s, because we feel that there is no other way out but to kill myself. And I'm there going, hang on a minute, please, like, don't take this route. Shoulder it with someone else so that they're now carrying you. Like God sits next to you with his relationship for the journey. You've got blokes around you that will pick you up and carry you through this, that can take you through I don't know, if it's debt or if it's fertility or if it's issues or affairs or whatever. You just share it with people, because that's when it becomes an issue when you don't. I don't know whether I've gone off topic there, Ben, but I
not at all. I think that's bang on topic, because we started this whole thing off, your passion being the Jay-Z Coldplay concert and the amazing shared experience. But I think one of the fallacies of shared experience is that it's only worthwhile if it's good. Like, it's only a worthwhile shared experience if it's a good experience. So we can go to the concert and have a great time together. If we can go and get 11 lads together and play some football, or if we can get, whoever else together to have this activity or that activity, and then great, we've got the shared experience. But actually, the most profound shared experiences are just the authentic ones. Whatever the setting, whether it's good or whether it's challenging, it's like we've already talked about. The best shared experiences are authentic ones. And sometimes the most authentic and important and necessary shared experience is sharing in each other's pain and sharing in each other's struggle and being part of the solution where we were perhaps once part of the problem. And in the human sense, we can do something, but it would actually ultimately become unbearable for all of us, because I think the challenges are so great and we would have so little hope to ever actually overcome beyond our ability to deal with it. And our ability is massively limited, no matter how skilled and talented we are. But when we have God, who is inexhaustible in his ability and his kindness, his grace, his goodness, his healing power, and God's at work in our lives, and we're able to come and say, well, look, I can't offer you a lot as a human, but I'll certainly do the best that I can do. But you know what? God at work in me and God at work in you, man, anything's possible. And I want a shared experience of coming alongside you. I don't just want to go to a concert with you and have an amazing time. I want to come cry with you when your wife is miscarried. I want to come in and put my arm around you when you're feeling like an utter failure, because X, Y, or Z has happened and taken place in your life, something out of your control, something you've done wrong. And yeah, it needs to be dealt with and it needs to be, explored. But we're going to share in this and we're going to get the other side. But it's also going to be rooted, most importantly, in the power of God, which you're going to see us not burn out in sharing each other's burdens, but ultimately put them where they belong in the hands of God himself.
And that's the beautiful thing that you shared about like the Chris Martin thing, when he first cocked it up and he went, oh, hold on, let me do it again. I sang that in completely wrong key. They didn't boo him.
No.
Because he was vulnerable.
And his bandmates weren't slapping him around the head saying, what do you mean we've got to start again? They all just chuckled and they started again. And then
because he was vulnerable, the whole crowd went, whoa! I bet all cheered. And because he showed that he's a fallible, vulnerable bloke. And I think, when we have this image or we portray this image that everything's sorted, I think a lot of people, other blokes are like, well, he's sorted. I don't need to help him. But when you share it, everyone goes, I'm going to cheer you on, man. I'm going to help you. I'll be there with you. And, God looks at us in even more depth than that and just says, you're my son, you're my child. Jesus went to the cross for that again. You might have messed it up again, but he still went to the cross every single time for that. And understanding that and allowing it actually brings so much freedom to your life because you understand that mercies are new every morning, brand new. And you get to start again. And that's one reason to never give up.
It's beautiful, man. Well, we're coming to the end of our time today, but before we finish up, I just wanted to make a last connection point really from this idea of music, concerts, shared experiences. Obviously, you get the opportunity to use music and the shared experience literally by being the one who stands on stage, does the gig, creates the environment, uses it as a way to preach the gospel and then work with local churches, get them connected into brilliant discipleship stuff that you even help resource as well. That's amazing. A lot of people don't get that opportunity. So how can other people utilize some of the same stuff that you're utilizing, music, environments, shared experiences, but in a different way that, more matches up with the kind of ordinary life experience?
Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of people say it's so bold to get up on a stage and share Jesus. If you're in front of a hostile crowd or you're in front of year 10s on a Monday morning, and they're looking at you like you've landed from Mars, like that's bold to stand up in front of them. And we did an Illuminate Schools launch, which was like the initial idea. We held a reception at the House of Lords, and I had Nicky Gumbel come and share what he thought, his dreams were for London, for the Illuminate tour that we were bringing to London. And he basically got up and he just went, the most horrific thing I've ever done is speak to young people in school. Scared the absolute life out of me. I would never want to do it, but these guys can.
So was that Nicky Gumbel or is that Prince Charles? I can't tell.
Nicky Gumbel, Prince Charles, Ken Costa, and anyone posh
all rolled into one.
And yet, yes, you're right. There is a boldness in that, and yet, I bottled out of talk. Someone sat in a sauna the other day at my gym, and he sat there talking to his mate, and he goes, "What do you give a man that's got everything? What do you give to a man that's got everything?" And I sat there, and I was like, "I need to tell him about Jesus. I need to tell him about Jesus." I went, "I need to give you Jesus," and I bottled out. So there's boldness in this thing, and yet the one-to-one, I think, takes so much boldness, and it's the stepping out at a coffee shop and saying, "Hey, bro, can I pay that forward? Why are you doing that?" "Oh, I'm a church boy. I want to bless you." "What? You got something I could pray for?" That conversation has got that takes so much more guts, and you don't need a sound system, you don't need a stage, you don't need a mic, you don't need music, you don't need anything. That takes more guts to do that than it does to step up in front of a bunch of year 10s with all these materials that are going to woo them and win them. You understand what I mean? And I think your effectiveness as an evangelist is being bold in whichever situation you're in. And I was rubbish at it the other day, and I definitely need to step up on that as a personal thing. I kicked my own butt when I walked out. I was like, tell him. I'm walking upstairs going, go back in and tell him. And I carried on walking. Anyway, I've seen him since, and I've rectified it. And I went, you said that the other day in the sauna. And he goes, yeah. And he said, you just talked about adoption. I said, yeah. And he goes, I said, I just wanted to tell you I'm a church boy. And he goes, oh, I never would have guessed that. He said, you walk around with an Arsenal shirt on. He said, I didn't think Arsenal fan.
No Arsenal supporter could follow Jesus.
I know. But that was an opening point, wasn't it? And then we started talking about football, and he said, oh, where'd you go to church then? I went, oh, place in town called Audacious, big church. You should come down and have a look. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'd love to. Bang. Yeah. Doors open. Yeah. And there's me being frail and like, oh, I don't want to tell him. And actually, it's the boldness to do the one-to-one stuff. So whichever situation you find yourself, whether you are a stage proclamation preaching evangelist or you're one-to-one. It's stepping out in boldness and actually asking for the right words at the right time to connect with each person that you're talking to, and walking in that.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. You've helped us to figure out a little bit of a fallacy or a wrong way of thinking, which is like, oh, if we can just get the Jay-Z Coldplay experience opportunity, then it'll all be good because people will be ready for the gospel. But essentially what you're saying today is actually you never know what the great opportunity might be. We so quickly go to great experience. But actually, what if the shared experience that God is providing you for an opportunity to give the gospel is just to come alongside someone who's questioning, struggling, hurting, feeling rejected, feeling like a failure, to come along and say, hey, this might not feel like a great experience for you right now, but let me show you how you can find true fulfillment, and let me show you the true hope that awaits in relationship with Jesus. Yeah, man.
Love it.
Awesome, bro. Thanks so much for joining us today. What do you want to shout about? Like, how can people connect with you?
Yeah. So we've got two big singles coming out. One is called Together, and it's being released with a DJ called Paul Oakenfold, who's a big kind of 90s, noughties, 2000s DJ. He's done a lot of soundtracks, but he's got a huge following, and he's done the single for us, and we're releasing it. So if you go and check out the song Together, it's all about coming together, but it's about everything we've talked about. It's about relationship, and it's about how we are stronger together. Yeah. Obviously with Jesus in the driving seat, but it's that kind of sentiment. And then we've just had another song picked up by Radio 1. Charlie Hedges has taken our new single called Back in Time, which is all going back to that moment where you responded to the gospel, or back to that moment where someone told you about Jesus and what it's been like since then. And she's picked it up, and it looks like it's going to chart and do all the stuff we need. So spread the word, use the music as a resource, get it out there, hit us on Instagram or whatever it is you want to do. Stay with us for the journey. And, you know, if you're on there and you're a praying type, I'll start talking about all the new Illuminate Schools tours that are coming up. So start praying for them. Start praying for gospel opportunities for people to respond, and for towns and cities in the UK and beyond to be transformed by the life-changing message of Jesus.
Great stuff. Right. Go check it all out. Check all the music out on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all of the places you can find it. LZ7. And thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, of course, to get yourself subscribed to this so you can stay connected to all of these conversations that we have moving forward. I mean, we might have peaked with this one, Lindz. It might not be worth people subscribing, but what you got to lose? Subscribe anyway, just in case there's a better one coming along. You know, I know who we've got lined up for future podcasts, and as much as I love Lindz, the next ones are going to be even better. So you should subscribe. Bless you, man. All right, take care. We will see you very soon.